of the African Union, I want to go across to a very special guest. Mary Millben, American singer, is joining us. She is, of course, used to singing for many presidents and dignitaries around the world and sang the Bharat national anthem for the Prime Minister when he was on the US trip. Mary, very nice talking to you again.
It's wonderful to see you, Shivani. Thanks so much for having me on. And what a historic day today is for India and certainly for the G20.
You tweeted earlier today that it brought tears to your eyes to see the African Union being included as the G20 member. Why is that? Why is this so emotional? Of course, you have African heritage, but you are an American. Could you explain to me a little bit more of why this is so important?
Well, absolutely. It's such a, I tell you, seeing the photos, certainly my morning, your evening, seeing the photos of the Prime Minister and certainly the African leaders, they're hugging after the announcement was made, and seeing the energy certainly in the room. It was certainly, I'm sure it was emotional for many people, particularly see such an important continent, a continent that all G20 countries are certainly benefiting from, their economies thriving from trade and economic engagement. So to see that moment, certainly at the helm of the G20 being in India, and with the Prime Minister's courageous and compassionate leadership, it was just an emotional moment to see these two motherlands embrace both diplomatically and in friendship form. And so it's a historic day for the G20. It's a historic day for India, and really hats off to the Prime Minister for his great leadership.
What about the role that India has played? Of course, you've always been a big fan of the Prime Minister. I'll get to that in just a bit, or you could add why that is. What is it that make you, that makes you appreciate what he's doing? But especially in the context of, pushing the African Union's place in the G20, he certainly has played a big role.
Absolutely. Well, Shivani, as your audience in India knows, I am a big fan of the Prime Minister. I think he is the best leader for India. He's the best leader for the U.S.-India relationship, and he certainly is the best leader for India as it relates to the world. That's on full display here at the G20 this week. And I tell you, my admiration for the Prime Minister certainly stems from his humility, his humble beginnings. He's a true man of the people, and that's certainly a phrase that's not foreign to India and certainly all across the world. But he is a man of the people. More importantly, the Prime Minister made a bold move to submit a proposal for the African Union becoming a permanent member, and perhaps in some ways in solo form. But I'm glad to see that all countries have joined with the Prime Minister, including the United States, in supporting now the African Union being a permanent member. And it's beautiful to see that consensus happening. This step towards having the African Union as a permanent member in the G20, it's a step toward a more representative and equitable global governance system. That's so important going forward with all of the world challenges that we are facing. And so the Prime Minister has championed causes for raising up, lifting up the marginalized, raising up, lifting up certainly women and women empowerment. He has championed causes that are about lifting up those that are sometimes left from the table. And by making this move, the Prime Minister has now brought the African Union to the table, which is important for solving the world's challenging problems.
No,